Welcome back to our new story 3, Betrayal Kiss, a Mafia romance tale. Before Chapter 1 begins, let the world whisper its secrets. In a realm carved by fate and fire, where hearts break louder than wars, and silence often speaks more than screams, there begins a journey unlike any other. This is not just a story, it's a heartbeat pressed between pages, a war of love, loss, loyalty, and the hunger for something more. Every word ahead will test your soul. Now close your eyes, breathe in, and step beyond the ordinary. The real story begins now. 3. Betrayal Kiss. Chapter 1. A prelude to deceit and desire. The rain fell in heavy sheets, washing the streets of Milan like a restless heart. Isabella stood in the shadows of a narrow alley, her breath clouding the air. She could hear the distant thunder rumbling, matching the storm in her chest. Tonight was supposed to be a night of celebration, a night for love, but all she felt was dread. Tonight marked the end of her life, as she knew it. Hours earlier, she had watched the scene unfold at the grand table surrounded by the city's most powerful mafia families. Laughter echoed and glasses clinked, but Isabella felt out of place. She watched Matteo, her handsome betrothed, charm everyone around him while his deep brown eyes sparkled with mischief. To the world, he was a prince. To her, he was a thief who had stolen her heart and now threatened to break it. Isabella's fingers brushed against the cool metal of the bracelet he had given her, a beautiful gem symbolizing their union. But now it felt like a chain, binding her to a life she never wanted. Just as she was about to approach him, the doors creaked open, and an unexpected guest entered. It was Lucia, a woman who had come from their past like a ghost whispering secrets long forgotten. The room quieted as her presence sent a shiver through Isabella. Lucia was more than just an old friend. She was an uninvited reminder of the darkness that shadowed their world. Isabella couldn't shake off the feeling that Lucia's eyes sparkled with hidden motives. The vibrations of tension began to ripple through the air as whispered conversations filled the room. Matteo glanced over, his smile faltering for a brief second as he noticed Lucia. It was a fleeting moment, but it felt like a lifetime. Isabella's heart raced, feeling the darkness seep into their joyful night. She could almost hear the thoughts dancing in everyone's minds, including her own. Was his loyalty to her, or would he betray her for power, just like his father had done before him? As the evening wore on, Isabella's unease only grew. Tossing her head back, she laughed at Matteo's jokes. She stood close to him, but the distance between their hearts felt unbearable. She caught glimpses of Lucia, who leaned against the wall, an enigmatic smile playing on her lips. Isabella could not shake the feeling that trouble lay just beyond the elegant facade of the party. Toward the end of the night, Matteo whisked Isabella away from the noise, pulling her into a quiet corner of the courtyard surrounded by blooming jasmine. The scent was intoxicating, but it did little to calm her racing heart. He took her hands and locked eyes with her, the weight of the world on his shoulders. This life, Isabella, it can tear us apart or bring us closer. We just have to trust each other. His words felt like a promise, but they hung in the air like a double-edged sword. Matteo, what if someone betrays us? She whispered, fear threading through her voice. A flicker of concern flashed in his dark eyes before he brushed it away. No one will betray us. Not now. Not ever. But Isabella knew better. That very moment, Lucia's laughter echoed in her mind. Was she truly safe? As midnight struck, the party reached its climax, and Isabella found herself pulled back into the chaotic whirl of festivities. People danced, glasses were filled, and laughter rang out like gunshots. But the sound only added to her mounting anxiety. She caught sight of Lucia again, her eyes boring into Isabella's soul like a predator observing its prey. The moment dragged like a heavy curtain until finally, near the dawn of the new day, she saw red. Matteo stood in front of Lucia, their heads bent close together, engaged in hushed conversation. Isabella's heart sank. Her gut twisted. It felt like betrayal hung in the air, thick and choking. Swallowing her hurt, Isabella brushed past them, desperate for air. She found herself in the garden where the moonlight bathed everything in a silvery glow. But the beauty did little to lessen her turmoil. Tears stung her eyes, each drop a lingering whisper of doubt. Did she even know the man she was about to marry? The rustle of leaves brought her attention back. It was Matteo following her into the moonlit garden. His face was painted with concern, but something in the depths of his gaze made her heart race with uncertainty. "Isabella, wait!" he called, reaching out, as she turned away. Before she could reply, an unexpected sound shattered the night. Gunshots rang out, echoing through the stillness. The celebration was abruptly stilled, now filled with frantic screams and rushing bodies. Self-preservation took over, and Isabella's instincts screamed for her to run. In the chaos, she lost sight of Matteo. Hours of laughter faded into a haze of panic and fear. She stumbled through the throngs of people, her heart pounding violently in her chest. And in that moment, as chaos erupted around her, she realized the lies they were all living, the facades everyone wore, and the treachery that slept beneath smiles. Trust was a fragile thing, easily shattered by the darkness they all danced so closely with. When the dust settled and silence returned, clarity began to dawn. She didn't know who to trust anymore. Would she still choose to love Matteo or let the weight of deceit consume her? As dawn broke, the first rays of sunlight filtered through the trees. Isabella stood alone in the garden, surrounded by a landscape forever changed. A decision lay ahead of her, sharp and defining. She could give in to despair, or she could rise stronger, more determined than ever to uncover the truth hidden in the shadows. The choice would leave an imprint on her heart forever, one that would lead her toward a new beginning, or to the depths of betrayal's despair. The quiet breeze whispered promises of resilience. 3. Betrayal's Kiss. Chapter 2, Shattered Glass and Venomous Vows. The aftermath of the chaos hung in the air like a bitter smoke, clinging to Isabella's skin. She stood amidst the remnants of a shattered night, where laughter once flowed like wine, now replaced with strained breaths and muffled sobs. Her heart raced, a wild bird trapped in a cage, desperate for the freedom that seemed so far away. Matteo was still inside the bombarded house, and she could only pray for his safety. The faint sound of sirens began to echo in the distance, but they felt like a warning bell tolling for them all. She had to move. Every instinct urged her to run, to escape the world crumbling around her. Yet her feet felt heavy, as though weighed down by the choices that lay before her. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall man with sharp features and cold, calculating eyes. It was Marco, Matteo's older brother. He moved through the crowd like a wolf through the trees, focused and fierce. His gaze landed on Isabella, and for a beat, time froze. She felt exposed like an unfinished puzzle waiting for the right pieces to snap into place. "Isabella," Marco spoke, his voice low and dangerous. "You can't be here. This is bigger than you know." He reached for her arm, but she jerked away instinctively, a flash of anger sparking in her chest. "I won't cower in fear, Marco. Not anymore." Her voice trembled, barely masking the fury inside her. "I deserve to know what's happening. I deserve the truth." His eyes softened for a moment, and it made her heart ache. He was not just the cruel enforcer of the family. He was also the brother who had watched over her and Matteo since childhood. But his concern felt like a double-edged sword. "If you stay, you'll become a target. They'll come for you if you're too close to Matteo." The reality of his words crashed over her. She felt dizzy. The world she knew was falling apart, and yet there he stood, a steadfast reminder of the fragile line between love and war. "I won't be used as a pawn in this sick game." "Not anymore," she said firmly, but uncertainty gnawed at her. "Then join us, fight back," Marco urged, his tone low and persuasive. "There's power in our unity. We can protect our own." But how could she trust the very same family who had swept her into this storm? Doubt flickered in her mind, but she held on to trust like a lifeline. Before she could respond, a scream shattered the night. Isabella turned toward the sound, her heart racing. A man stumbled, blood soaking his shirt, the life slipping from him in front of her eyes. She recoiled instinctively, gasping as the truth struck her. This was real. Lives were at stake, not just her love for Matteo, but everything they were fighting for. Immediately, her desire for truth evolved into something deeper. Protecting her heart wasn't enough anymore. She had to protect others. "I'll fight," she whispered, more to herself than Marco. "I'll stand with you, but if anything happens to Matteo—" The words lingered ominously in the air. Marco nodded, a spark of respect shining in his eyes as the crowd around them began to disperse. "Gather the others. We will need every ally." As they moved deeper into the chaos, Isabella felt a thrill of adrenaline rush through her veins, mixing with fear and confusion. The night transformed around her. Every corner hid danger, and every whisper felt like a potential betrayal. But she felt alive. The fire that had been extinguished inside her began to flicker once more. They gathered in a dimly lit room, walls adorned with ancestral portraits watching over them like silent judges. Each member of the Mafia family was there, a mixture of hardened faces and anxious expressions. Isabella could feel the tension vibrating in the air as they discussed their next steps. But as the meeting progressed, a looming dread wrapped around her heart. What if they were not strong enough? What if they lost everything tonight, including Matteo? The thought tormented her. There was a heavy silence that fell upon the group, and in that moment, Isabella spoke up. "I might not have been born into this life, but my heart belongs to it now. Our fight must be for more than power. It has to be for our family, for what we believe in." The room fell silent, all eyes on her. But then Marco stood tall, his presence commanding respect. "Isabella knows our strength. Every person here matters, and we will not fail because we stand united." Though his words were meant to inspire, fear lurked in the shadows. A plan was formed, alliances discussed, and their mission lay heavy on her heart. A mission to confront those who threatened their future, to reclaim the narratives that had intertwined so perilously. But would love be enough to shield them all from the coming storm? As they prepared for the dawn that would mark the beginning of their fight, Isabella felt a knot of anxiety twist in her gut. Was she strong enough to face what lay ahead? Each time a plan was discussed, she felt her heart racing. They would face not just enemies of their blood, but the darker side of their own family too. But as she stole a glance at Marco, she saw the reflection of her own determination. Each battle was a step closer to either strength or heartbreak. In this world woven with alliances and treachery, she realized that no promise of love could erase the venomous truth that permeated their reality. The vows they took were both dangerous and beautiful, binding them in a delicate dance between hope and despair. As the night began to wane, Isabella understood that whatever happened next, the shards of glass, both broken dreams and shattered love, could either cut deep or be remade into something new. With renewed resolve, she prepared to face the light of dawn, knowing she would fight for love, for loyalty, and for the choice to carve a destiny of her own. In the end, true strength often came from embracing one's own power, even amid the shards of a life once thought whole. 3. Betrayal's Kiss. Chapter 3. The Taste of Deception. The dawn broke with a shroud of gray clouds, muffling the promise of a bright new day. Isabella stood by the window, her heart heavy. The air felt thick, pregnant with secrets and lies. In the quiet of the early morning, she struggled to bury her fears, but they clawed their way to the surface. The taste of deception lingered on her tongue, sour and acrid like a bitter herb. She knew the battle was upon them, and choosing to fight meant making sacrifices she wasn't sure she was ready to face. Matteo's absence hung over her like a dark cloud. She felt lost without him, but strength had to replace doubt. They had invaded their lives, and the world she thought she knew was slipping through her fingers like sand. Uncertainty gnawed at her as she thought of what lay ahead. Had they underestimated their foes? Would betrayal come from unexpected places? As she prepared for the day, a knock broke her reverie. Marco entered, his handsome face clouded with determination. "We're gathering the crew," he said, urgency lacing his voice. "We need to prepare for what's coming. It won't be long before they strike again." His words ignited a flicker of resolve inside Isabella. "Where's Matteo?" she asked, trying to keep the tremor from her voice. A frown flitted across Marco's brow. "He's on a mission to find the source of the threat. We have intel, but it's still unclear who's behind this. Marco turned away, glancing out the window. His posture spoke of anger and frustration, and it made her heart race. As much as she wanted to trust in Matteo's ability, the worry that creased Marco's brow reminded her of the stakes. I want to be part of this, Marco. I can't sit back and do nothing while the men I love risk their lives. Isabella's voice was steady, but she felt the weight of uncertainty on her shoulders. He sighed, the shoulders of a man being crushed under the burden of loyalty and duty. You know this world is cruel. It can twist even the best intentions. You don't understand what you're asking. But she was determined. I can't let you fight my battles for me. I want to know what's happening. If I'm to trust Matteo, I need to know he's safe. Fine, Marco said reluctantly. But you must promise to listen and follow my orders. It's dangerous out there. As they made their way to the meeting room, a knot of anxious anticipation wrapped tight around Isabella's chest. The cousins and crew members were gathered around. A large oak table, faces grim, eyes steeled with resolve. They had all come together for one purpose, to fight for what mattered. Among them was Lucia, her presence cutting through the tense air like a blade. Dressed in black, she wore a facade of calm that belied the tempest raging within. Isabella felt a ripple of unease at the sight of her. What did Lucia really want? Was her intent pure, or was her charm hiding venomous intentions? Listen up, Marco commanded, and every eye turned toward him. Our enemies are on the move. Our intel suggests that they're targeting key family members. We must act swiftly to protect ourselves. Questions bubbled up like hot lava, but as Isabella listened to their plan unfold, dread coiled in her stomach. What if they were already too late? When they discussed who would watch over specific territory, she couldn't help but feel left out. Her heart raced. She wanted to scream that she was capable, that she would fight alongside them, but fear kept her silent. After the meeting, Marco gestured to Isabella. We need to put you somewhere safe. Safe? Isabella scoffed. You think putting me in hiding will help? This is my fight too. The safest option is to remove the target, Marco replied, frustration simmering in his voice. You don't understand the depths of this family's power. If they want you, hiding won't be enough. Then I'll face them. I'm not afraid. Her pulse quickened as the words spilled out, but deep down she was terrified of what lay ahead. You should be, Marco warned, his expression stern. You think you're prepared for this? That you can protect what matters? He stopped, tension dancing between them like an electric current. Then he softened, his voice lowering. I cry for you, Isabella. I fear for you. The heart can blind us to deception. Before she could respond, a loud crash sounded from outside. She spun around, her heart sinking. Marco pulled her back, protectively shielded. Stay behind me, I'll see. What's happening? The fear she felt surged into determination. She couldn't be a mere pawn in this game anymore. As Marco moved to the door, Isabella took a step forward, ready to follow. Heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through her veins, she would not be left behind. She might be afraid, but she was not powerless. When Marco flung open the door, chaos erupted. A battle against unknown assailants exploded across the courtyard. Isabella looked around, spots of color flashing amidst the gray. Dawn as men moved like shadows defending against the attack. The air was thick with the sounds of shouting and gunfire. A surge of panic had her heart racing again. But among the panic, she spotted Matteo, confronting their attackers, his stance firm and fierce. Relief washed over her. He was alive, yet a sickening dread wrapped around her heart, knowing the danger was far from over. In the midst of the fight, Isabella's gaze caught on Lucia, who moved through the chaos with an elegance that was almost hypnotizing. But as their eyes met, the fleeting connection sent a shiver down Isabella's spine. A vow made in silence lingered like smoke in the air. Was Lucia friend or foe? In that moment of confusion and clarity, Isabella realized that she had to make a choice. The fight for love was not just against external threats. It was against the hidden treachery lurking in the shadows of her own family. As Matteo fought valiantly, the taste of deception turned sweet on her tongue, and fear and courage intertwined. They would either rise together or fall apart in the battle of love and loyalty. Whispers of betrayal echoed in her heart, but in the chaos she found her own strength blooming. She would not merely watch. She would take a stand alongside those she loved. In that moment, every whisper of doubt faded. She made her choice, igniting the spark of defiance within. She was ready to fight, not just for herself, but for the love that dared to taste both sweet and bitter. Third Betrayal's Kiss. Chapter 4, The Heart's Final Gambit. The air was thick with tension, like a tightening string ready to snap, and Isabella felt the chaos swirl around her. The clash of metal, the sharp cries of pain, and the roaring of engines echoed in her ears. Her heart drummed a frantic beat against her ribs as shadows danced across the courtyard, chaos spilling like ink on paper. She was no longer a passive observer. She was a participant in this deadly game of trust and betrayal. Matteo was fighting valiantly, his movements fluid as he defended their territory. Each strike he executed was powerful and precise. But in the depths of her heart, Isabella felt the weight of doubt dragging her down. She loved him, but how well did she really know him? Was he willing to risk everything for her? Or was there a hidden agenda beneath his fierce loyalty? She caught a glimpse of Marco, his jaw set tight as he defended their territory, fending off attackers with a fearless resolve. In that moment, Isabella felt a swell of admiration for him. He was a true warrior, someone who took charge even in the most dangerous situations. Yet the flickers of deceit still danced at the edges of her mind, and confusion churned within her. "Isabella!" Marco shouted, breaking through the chaos. He waved her forward, urgency in his voice. "Get to safety! We can't protect you here." But safety felt like a hollow promise. She couldn't abandon those who fought for her, who fought for what they believed in. With determination burning in her chest, she took a step toward the chaos instead of away. "No, I won't leave you or Matteo." Marco turned, his eyes narrowing. "You have to trust me, Isabella. You can't fight this battle." But her heart raced for a different reason. "I can't hide while my love fights. I can't shrink when I know I have a role to play." In that moment, something changed. Marco's expression shifted to one of reluctant acceptance. "Then come with me. Stay close. We fight together." The two moved toward Matteo, dodging the mayhem. Isabella felt the sharp sting of adrenaline, her pulse quickening with each breath. With each glance exchanged, a bond bound them tightly, and this battle would unravel their true connections. As they surged forward, Isabella's mind raced with plans and possibilities. They needed strategy, not just courage. The strength of their hearts had to guide their choices. She followed Marco's lead, but she was hyper-aware of the odds, stacked against them. Even as chaos swirled around her, deeper questions tugged at her thoughts. Who could they trust, and where did each heart's loyalty lie? Then unexpectedly, they found themselves surrounded by a group of assailants. Isabella's breath caught as a shadow stepped forward, a familiar figure hidden beneath a mask. The figure's eyes gleamed with a dark knowing. It was Lucia. Of course, the betrayer had come for more than blood. She sought control. "Lucia," Isabella breathed, bitterness tingling on her tongue. "What are you doing here?" Lucia stepped closer, her expression unreadable beneath the mask. "Weren't you listening? You've been playing a dangerous game, my dear. You let emotions cloud your judgment." Anger surged through Isabella. "You think you can sway me? You dragged chaos into our lives." "Chaos? Or freedom?" Lucia's voice was smooth, like silk hiding a knife. "You cling to enmity in a world where power speaks louder than love." "Enough!" Marco shouted, stepping in front of Isabella. "You will not manipulate her anymore." Lucia smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. "The heart always gambles, Marco. It's interesting to see how far a heart will go for those it loves." As the fight erupted around them, the shadows of betrayal twisted deeper. Marco squared his shoulders, ready to defend, but Isabella felt the pull of her own strength swelling in that moment. "If I'm to gamble for love, then I choose to stand by Matteo. I will not let you tear us apart." Lucia's eyes narrowed, barriers rising. "That's your folly, sweet Isabella. Love is a mask that fools the foolish." "No," Isabella replied, her voice clearer, more certain. Love teaches us to fight, to stand up for one another. The battle had accelerated into a whirlwind of striking fists and clashing metal. Every move was desperate and deadly. Yet amidst the turmoil, Isabella felt a flicker of hope. She dodged an attacker, her pulse racing as she fought her way towards Matteo. She could see him, locked in combat with another opponent. Her heart raced as she approached, but as she reached for him, a sharp pain shot through her shoulder. She gasped, spinning around to find an enemy behind her, their weapon poised for another strike. "Isabella!" Marco shouted. But she was already down, the world tilting around her. Fear gripped her as darkness threatened to close in. The pain seared through her like wildfire, but she fought against it, refusing to surrender. In a blur of movement, a figure leapt in front of her. It was Matteo. He knocked the attacker to the ground with a fierce blow, then turned to her, his gaze sharp and focused. "Isabella, stay with me." His hands were warm against her skin as he cradled her face. The worry in his eyes made her heart ache. "I'm okay," she whispered, though she could feel her strength waning. "I want to fight. I want this to end. I can't let Lucia win." Matteo's expression darkened as the reality of their battle hung in the air. Like a thick fog, echoes of gunfire and shouts surrounded them, yet the world narrowed to just the two of them. "I should never have let you get caught in this. I thought I could protect you." "Protect or control?" she pressed, her voice steady, despite the edge of pain. "You need me as much as I need you. We fight together." He inhaled sharply, pain mingling with understanding. "You're right. But this fight is more than just us. It's about our future. That's worth risking everything." With renewed determination, Isabella nodded. She could feel the embers of hope leap inside her heart. As if responding to that flame, her blood surged with power, igniting her will to stand against Lucia and their enemies. In the chaotic fray, everything began to converge. The battle was not just about surviving, it was about love, trust, and the choices they made together. With a final surge, Isabella took Matteo's hand, their connection binding them against the tide of treachery. With one last stand, they rushed together, unwavering. The stakes were high, but their love proved stronger than the darkness encroaching. They gambled their hearts for a higher purpose, and as they faced the chaos together, they realized true strength lay not in concealing love, but embracing it fully, no matter the risks ahead. With hearts entwined, they stepped into the storm, ready to fight for every moment they had together, ready to rewrite the narrative that had been lost. 3. Betrayal's Kiss. Chapter 5. The Shattered Altar of Trust. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm, golden glow across the city, but Isabella felt nothing but cold dread. They had emerged from the chaos of the battle, but the tension clung to her like a damp cloth. The voices of her allies faded as she walked away from the crowd, seeking solace in the haunting echo of the day's events. Trust had been a fragile thread before, but now it felt shattered, like a crystal altar splintered into 1,000 sharp pieces. What did it mean to love someone in a world riddled with deceit? Her heart wrestled with doubt. She couldn't ignore the sharp questions that pierced through the haze of adrenaline. Had her love for Matteo blinded her to the truth? Was Lucia right to suggest that trust was a fool's journey? As the last rays of sunlight faded, stars began to poke through the dusky sky. Isabella wandered the empty streets, her mind swirling with memories of whispered secrets and promises made. In the shadows, what had started as a romantic dream felt more like a nightmare waiting to unfold. Each step echoed her turmoil. In the distance, she spotted the grand villa where they often gathered, a place once filled with laughter and hope. Tonight it felt heavy, its walls lined with unspoken grief. As she stepped through the entrance, the air felt thick, a palpable silence settling around her. She moved through the hallway, pausing at a mirror. She barely recognized the person staring back at her, eyes filled with questions, heart trembling under the weight of angst. "Isabella?" The sound of Marco's voice broke through her reverie. He appeared at the end of the corridor, his face shadowed with concern. "You should be resting. You need to recover." "What I need is clarity," she snapped, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. I can't ignore the cracks in our foundation anymore. It's not just about fighting. Believe me, I understand, Marco said, stepping closer, his expression softening. But we must stay focused on what matters. This isn't the time for doubt. You don't get it, Isabella countered, the rising tide of emotion spilling over. Doubt is all I have. If we don't face our fears together and confront them, they will destroy everything we've built. I don't want to be naive. Marco rubbed the back of his neck, the weight of her words resonating with him. We're in a dangerous world. Trust is the only weapon we have left. But can we truly trust anyone? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. In that moment, sadness flickered across Marco's face, but he quickly masked it with a determined resolve. We can trust each other. That will be enough. For now. Together they walked into the main room, where the remains of the last battle lingered like ghosts. People moved in and out, preparing for something, but Isabella felt like an outsider, swallowed by her doubts. In her heart, pieces of their makeshift family felt like a broken puzzle, and she was unsure if they could ever fit together again. Suddenly, the door crashed open and Matteo entered, his face marked with determination, blood still drying on his shirt. His eyes locked on Isabella, burning with an intensity that made her heart flutter, yet shadows lurked within them. She wanted to run to him, but the remnants of unease held her back. Isabella, we need to talk, Matteo said, urgency lacing his voice. About what? More secrets. She couldn't help but bite back. Her frustration bubbled over as she crossed her arms, trying to shield her heart. Matteo's expression hardened, but he held his ground. This isn't the time for anger. We need to unite if we are going to win this war. What war? The one we've fought against ourselves? Tears threatened to spill, but she fought to hold them back. I'm tired of not knowing where we stand. What's it going to be? Trust us or be left to fight alone? Isabella. His voice was strained, a plea wrapped in desperation, but she turned away. The truth hung in the air like a dagger, and the agony of uncertainty blurred her vision. Is this all we have? She asked, refusing to look back at him. How many more battles will we fight if we can't even trust each other? We fight because we love each other, he shouted, his words slicing through the darkness. But could love conquer all when fear and doubt stepped in? Silence enveloped them as the weight of their love pressed heavily against their hearts, each heartbeat a reminder of the stakes. Finally, Matteo stepped closer, extending his hand toward her. Isabella, believe me, I would never betray you. I would rather die than let anything harm you. Would he still say that if danger closed in? Would it matter if trust was already broken? A crack of doubt shot through her as she turned her gaze away, choosing to focus on the ground. I can't just put faith in words anymore. But in that moment, as she stared at the floor, she noticed something shimmering glass hidden beneath the surface, a remnant of their past. It reminded her of their promises, beautiful, sharp, and perhaps ultimately dangerous, just like the love they shared. In a sudden rush of clarity, she realized that love was not only formed from trust, but also from vulnerability. If she wanted their love to thrive, she had to confront her fears openly, even if it meant exposing her heart to pain. She looked up, meeting Matteo's eyes, feeling a flurry of emotions storming within her. I want to believe you, but I need more than words. Prove to me that I can trust you again. His brow furrowed, and for a moment, uncertainty flashed across his face. But then, determination returned. I'll show you. I'll lay it all on the line for us. Just give me the chance. With those simple words, a sense of hope bloomed inside her. Perhaps love could be rebuilt, brick by brick. Trust could be salvaged from the ruins. With great effort, she extended her hand to meet his. In that moment, their fingers brushed together, a gentle connection amidst the chaos. Isabella felt the tremors of hope wash over her. The altar of trust may have been shattered, but perhaps over time, they could piece it back together. Each shard could serve as a reminder of their battle and the strength of their bond. As Matteo pulled her closer, his heartbeat steadied her own, a pulse that echoed unity in the face of chaos. They would need each other to navigate the shadows ahead. They would rise or fall together. But from the depths of her heart, she understood that love didn't come without risks. Trust would take time and work, and there might be more broken pieces to mend. Still, with their hands locked, they faced the uncertain future together, both wounded but fiercely alive, resolutely committed to reclaiming what they had lost. In that moment, a glimmer of something brighter shimmered at the end of the dark tunnel, beckoning them forward. The remnants of their trust lay scattered, but together, they would forge a new path. Third Betrayal's Kiss. Chapter 6. The Thorned Roses Embrace. The city of Milan sparkled under a veil of night, but Isabella felt as though she walked through shadows. The air was heavy with tension, and looming questions danced through her mind like whispers in the dark. She stood on the balcony of the villa, staring out over the city's skyline, illuminated by thousands of lights, each one a reminder of the life she desperately coveted but couldn't grasp. She could hear the distant sounds of laughter and music from within the villa, where the others celebrated the fragile peace they had fought for. But tonight, every beat of revelry felt like a taunt. A knot twisted in her stomach as she grappled with the uncertainty that had taken root in her heart. The thorny truth was that trust was still an illusion, vulnerable like a rose with sharp thorns. The whispers of betrayal loomed closer than ever. Lucia had disappeared after the attack, and Isabella knew she hadn't left without a plan. Somewhere in the shadows, the thorned rose waited to strike. "Isabella?" Matteo's voice sliced through her thoughts like a breath of fresh air. He stepped out onto the balcony, his dark hair wild against the moonlight, his eyes filled with concern. "You're out here alone. You should be inside." "I needed fresh air," she replied, forcing a smile. "Not everyone can bask in the glory of victory." The bitterness in her voice surprised even herself. Matteo stepped forward, searching her face for answers. "You're not fooling anyone. I see the weight you carry. I feel it too." She looked away back to the city below. "Do we even know if it's really over? Lucia is still out there, and I can't shake the feeling that this is just the calm before another storm." Matteo approached her, concern etched on his features. "You can't let fear control you. We've won a battle, and that's worth celebrating." "It feels more like a precarious truce," she said, crossing her arms as if she could shield herself from the world. "Every celebration feels like a mask everyone wears to hide the truth." "No," he insisted, taking her hands in his, warmth radiating between them. "It's a chance for us to build something real. Every moment together is worth fighting for, and it's time to embrace it." But her heart felt heavy. In the back of her mind, she questioned whether their love could hold up against the darkness that lurked in the shadows. Could it withstand the thorns? "You know, roses have thorns." "For protection," Matteo continued, tracing a finger along the edge of a nearby rose bush. "They protect their beauty." "Or stabs when one reaches for them," Isabella shot back, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "Is that what our love has become? A beautiful rose that hides danger?" His gaze turned serious, and she could see the depth of his love reflected in his eyes. "All love comes with risks, Isabella. But that doesn't mean we should shy away from it. Trust takes time, just like nurturing a rose." But the fear of loss was heavy. As they stood there, grasping hands across the delicate space filled with so many unanswered questions, she felt torn. All the struggles, the battles, the cries of fear echoed in her chest. "What if we reach too far and get cut?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Then we heal together," Matteo replied firmly, his thumb brushing against her knuckles. "We face whatever comes, shoulder to shoulder. We won't turn away from the pain, even if it stings. We will be stronger for it." Isabella was overwhelmed, her heart blossoming with hope and trepidation at once. Strong enough to face Lucia? Stronger, Matteo vowed. We've faced our past, together, and we can face a future worse than we imagine. Just then, a shadow flickered past the edges of her mind. The thought of Lucia waiting in the wings, plotting her next move, felt like a dark cloud gathering above them. What if she returns? What if she targets you, or worse, me? Matteo stepped closer, bare inches apart now. Then we prepare. Love is not about avoiding risk. It's about standing together, facing every uncertainty. I'll protect you, Isabella, just as you'll protect me. As he spoke, her heart swelled with warmth, but was quickly wrapped in the tendrils of doubt. She had hoped their connection could drown out the shadows, but they also could illuminate the darkness lurking nearby. And what if this trust breaks? Mateo's expression softened, and he brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. Then it's our responsibility to mend it. Trust is like a thorned rose. It may hurt us, but if we care for it, it will blossom again. The sincerity in his voice wove a thread of comfort through her unease. Maybe love did thrive amongst danger. Perhaps they could forge a path amid the chaos if they held on to each other tightly. As if sensing the change, Mateo stepped back slightly. Let's go inside. They need us to celebrate this victory, and we need to connect. With our family, we'll face whatever comes next together, I promise. Isabella hesitated for a moment, a storm of thoughts racing, but she recognized a flicker of strength in his words. His quiet resolve reminded her what it meant to be together. Taking a deep breath, she nodded, allowing warmth to fold her in. Hand in hand, they stepped back into the villa's light. Laughter and music filled the air, and their presence resonated amidst the jubilant chaos. As they entered the room, people turned, smiles spreading like wildflowers as they welcomed the couple back into the fold. But Isabella knew it wouldn't always be easy. The shadows still lurked, and Lucia's intentions weighed on her mind like a heavy cloak. Love was delicate, like the petals of a rose, but it also bore the ability to control. It was enough to inspire hope, but also enough to cut deep. That night, as they danced amidst their family and friends, Isabella held on to Mateo tightly, resolve blooming like a rose within her. Together they would face the darkness. Even if it hurt, they would tend to both the beauty and the thorns, refusing to let their love wither in the shadows. For every sharp pain could lead to intense passion, and with time, they could find strength in their embrace, hoping to emerge stronger through every storm ahead. Third Betrayal Kiss. Chapter 7. Fractured Oaths and Moonlit Trysts. The moon hung low, a silvery coin casting its soft glow over the city. But inside Isabella's heart, turmoil brewed like a thunderstorm waiting to erupt. She sat on the balcony of the villa, her palms pressed against the cold stone railing. Silence wrapped around her. It should have felt peaceful, but the weight of her fractured oaths tugged at her conscience. How could she promise loyalty when trust felt so fragile? Mateo had spent the day gone, tending to matters she didn't quite understand, with promises of safety ringing hollow in her ears. Each passing moment without him felt like an eternity. Darkness creeping in where hope used to reside. The city lit up like stars on the horizon, mocking her with its beauty while her heart ached for clarity. How could she reconcile the love she felt for Mateo with the ever-looming threat of betrayal that lingered too close for comfort? The door creaked open, and Marco stepped outside, catching her off guard. He wore a look of concern, and in that moment she felt a surge of vulnerability. "Isabella," he began softly, "are you all right? You seem lost in thought." "I'm just thinking," she replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The warmth of the evening air did little to soothe her troubled heart. "I'm waiting for Mateo. He should be back by now." Marco's brow furrowed, and she could see the flicker of worry flicker across his face. "He'll return. He knows you're here waiting." But what if he didn't come back? What if something happened? Each unanswered question loomed larger than the last. She turned her gaze back to the streets below, and just then, a shadow darted past, sending a chill down her spine. "Do you think Lucia is still a threat?" she asked quietly, the name barely a whisper on her lips. Marco took a step closer, his voice low. "Lucia is always a threat. She will not let her schemes go unpunished." A silence stretched between them, charged and heavy. "Do you think we can trust Mateo in this?" Isabella's voice wavered. "There are too many unknowns, too many cracks." He hesitated, and in that brief moment of uncertainty, Isabella felt a deeper fracture. "I believe in him," he replied finally. "But love is a hard choice. It's never simple." "Love shouldn't demand such uncertainty," she said, looking away, her heart aching. "What if we're only buying time before more pain comes?" "Isabella," Marco urged, moving closer, "pain is a part of love. The question is whether we're brave enough to bear it together. Just then, a soft commotion broke the silence. The heavy door swung open again, and Matteo stepped in, his presence illuminating the room like a beacon of hope, yet shadows danced in his eyes. He looked worn, clothes slightly askew, as if he had been through a battle not just with fists, but with his heart. "Isabella," he called, his voice hoarse, "I need you." The urgency in his tone sent a thrill through her heart, both a call and a warning. Rushing toward him, she felt the air shift. "What happened?" "There are complications," he began, his gaze darting between her and Marco. "Lucia is more dangerous than we believed. She has allies, people we didn't anticipate." He seemed troubled, and that pit of uncertainty in her stomach deepened. "What do you mean? What?" "The trust we took for granted has been fractured," Matteo continued, his voice lowering as he stepped closer, his forehead glistening with sweat. "I need to protect you, but I require your trust more than ever. You must promise to stay safe while I confront her." "Safe?" Isabella repeated incredulously, her heart pounding. "By hiding away while you risk your life? That's not trust. That's fear." "This isn't about fear. It's about survival," Matteo snapped, and hurt flickered across his face as he saw her reaction. "I cannot lose you, Isabella. Not again." The room fell into silence, but tension crackled in the air like electricity. "You speak of trust, yet you're asking me to sit back and wait for you to confront danger alone," she shouted, the rush of emotions spilling forth. Marco stepped in, his voice steady. "We all want to keep you safe, Isabella. But Matteo has done this to protect you." "He's keeping me in the dark," she retorted, the anger bubbling up like a boiling pot. "How can I trust you both if you refuse to share the truth?" Matteo moved closer, his hands gently grasping her shoulders. "I'm not keeping you in the dark. I'm trying to protect you from the things I can't control. I need you to believe that I know what I'm doing." With every word, it felt like the ground beneath her feet was crumbling. "But I don't feel like I have a say in my own safety. You make it sound like I have no part in our fate." Matteo's brows drew together, the shadows deepening around them. "This is not what I want. My heart is torn because—" Before he could finish, the room's atmosphere shifted, like the calm before an impending storm. An echo rang through the hallway. Heavy footsteps approached, and Isabella's heart dropped. Could it be Lucia, returning for revenge? "Get ready," Marco hissed, and the three of them huddled closer. Isabella could feel the panic wash over her, adrenaline surging in her veins. The door swung open again, this time revealing a figure shrouded in darkness. A glimmer of metal caught the moonlight as Lucia stepped into the room, a wicked smile spreading across her lips. "Well, well, look what we have here," she purred, her voice smooth like silk but laced with danger. "A family reunion, it seems." The tension in the air thickened, and Isabella's heart raced. "Lucia, leave," Matteo commanded, stepping forward with a protective stance. "You're not welcome here." Slowly Lucia approached, her movements graceful yet predatory. "You've built quite the wall around your heart, Matteo, but it can only hold for so long." With a swift motion, she revealed a blade, twisting it between her fingers. "I must say, I am surprised to find you still standing, Isabella. Friends and foes know the cost of betrayal." Fear gripped Isabella's throat, but anger surged within her as well. "You think you can tear us apart? You're a fool if you believe we'll cower to your threats." Lucia chuckled softly, and a cruel glint sparked in her eyes. "Oh, but I'm not here for you. You're merely in the way of my plans." The atmosphere crackled, full of unspoken oaths and broken promises. Isabella felt a rush of determination. It was time they took a stand, united against the threats that surrounded them, not just from Lucia, but from their doubts. "Matteo," she said firmly, stepping closer to him, finding strength in their connection. "We face this together. You're not my protector, you're my partner." Matteo looked at her, a flicker of understanding igniting between them. "Then together it will be. No more secrets, no more hiding." Lucia's expression faltered for just a moment, a hint of surprise flashing across her face. "How sweet," she sneered. "But perhaps you should remember that the heart's light can only shine for so long in the dark. With those ominous words, the storm she had warned them of loomed closer than ever, and Isabella's heart pounded fiercely. But in that moment, she found clarity. They would not let fear control them, nor would they allow broken oaths to shatter their bond. They would embrace their strength, facing whatever came next. Together under the watchful moon, battling for trust, love, and a future that once felt impossible. With their hands entwined, they would carry on, determined to stand as one against the shadows aiming to tear them apart. Third, Betrayal's Kiss. Chapter 8, A Veil of Lies and Longing. The city of Milan pulsed beneath a thick veil of darkness, lights twinkling like distant stars. Isabella stood at the edge of the balcony, her heart heavy with uncertainty. The cool night air whispered secrets, but all she could feel was the weight of love entangled in betrayal. It was like being caught in a storm. She could see the chaos around her, but felt trapped in the eye of it. Matteo had gone to confront Lucia, and every minute apart felt like an eternity. Fear coiled tightly in her chest. What if he was walking into a trap? Could she trust him to come back to her? The question tormented her thoughts, echoing louder than the heartbeat that pulsed in her ears. She felt the tether of their love stretch thin, teetering on the edge of doubt. Isabella? Marco's voice broke through her spiral of anxiety. He stepped out onto the balcony, his brow furrowed with concern. You need to let him handle this. Let him? You don't understand, she replied, turning to face him. Every moment he's out there, I feel like I'm losing him. It should have been us against the world. Marco ran a hand through his hair, frustration crossing his face. He's fighting for us. For you. You need to trust that he knows what he's doing. But what if he doesn't come back from this? What if Lucia sabotaged everything? She can be cruel and I can't just stand by and wait. The words tumbled out of her mouth, raw with fear and longing. I know you care for him, but doubt is poison, Marco replied, walking closer, his voice steady. Do you truly believe your love for Matteo isn't strong enough to endure this? The question hit her harder than she expected. Could their love withstand the lurking shadows? Could it survive this storm? I want to believe that, but before she could finish, a shadow passed in the corner of her eye. She leaned into the darkness of the street below, scanning the quiet road. Each moment creaked with tension as if the world was holding its breath. What's happening down there? Suddenly headlights appeared, slicing through the night. A car pulled up, sleek and polished, and her heart raced as she squinted to see who emerged. It was Matteo. Relief flooded through her, warming her cheeks, mingling with the nagging sensation of fear. As he approached, she could see the tension that clung to him like a second skin. His face was taut, lips pressed tight. Isabella, he breathed, the sound almost a whisper as he rushed towards her. Matteo! She darted forward but stopped short, noticing the haze of worry that clouded his gaze. What happened? Lucia was gone for now, but a deeper threat loomed beneath the surface, a simmering tension that made the air feel electric. There's been a breach, he said, his voice heavy with foreboding. She's not finished with us. I don't know who we can trust. Her heart sank. What do you mean? Who? Anyone. He ran a hand through his hair, his exhaustion palpable. People have been feeding her information, preying on our fears, twisting everything we fought for. Marco stepped closer, his expression darkening. We need to tighten our defenses then. We can't let fear tear us apart. We have to outsmart her. Matteo nodded, but Isabella could see his mind racing. We need to find out who's feeding her information. It could be someone close to us. A surge of paranoia twisted in her gut. You think it could be someone among our friends? In our family? It's possible, Matteo replied, his brow knitted tight. We need to be careful. We have to watch who we trust. But who can we trust? She whispered, stepping back, feeling the chill of betrayal creeping into her bones. What if this is all a game, and we're all just pawns? Isabella, Matteo started, reaching for her, but she flinched, the gap between them widening. The weight of uncertainty cast shadows over their love. Every promise, every kiss feels like a lie, she said, her voice breaking. How can you tell me to trust when everything around us is falling apart? His expression shifted as he stepped closer, but she took another step back, bracing herself against the railing. I can't lose you to this, he said, desperation lacing his voice. Don't shut me out. We fought too hard for this. For us. It doesn't feel real anymore. Tears pricked at her eyes and she struggled to hold them back. What if you're pretending? What if this is all just a game? His look softened, and for the first time that night, she saw pain flicker across his face, a mirror of her own heartache. I'm not pretending. I love you. Every choice I make is for you, and I'll prove it. Silence wrapped around them as the weight of their words hung thick in the air. The glow of the moon filtered down, illuminating the uncertainty that shrouded them both. Suddenly, the tension was broken by the sound of laughter drifting from inside the villa. Friends and family were still celebrating, blissfully unaware of the shadows creeping closer. It felt almost cruel, the stark contrast between joy and despair. Do you hear that? She asked, the laughter echoing painfully. Outside, they're happy, and here we are, tangled in lies and fear. Mateo studied her, the silence stretching out. We can't let the outside world dictate how we feel. Do you really want to walk away from what we have? No, she exclaimed, anguish spilling out. But everything feels tainted. Love shouldn't feel so dangerous, shouldn't leave me feeling lost. He stepped even closer, the heat radiating from him, a stark contrast to the chill in her heart. Love is dangerous, Isabella. It's real, and that's what makes it worth fighting for. We tear down the lies and face the truth together. All at once, she felt that familiar longing swell within her, a flicker of hope fighting against the encroaching shadows. She took a deep breath, the truth washing through her. I want to believe you. Then let's trust in our love, he said, reaching for her hands. Let's turn this fear into strength. We can fight together against the lies. As their hands clasped, she felt the heat of his touch ignite a flicker of warmth in the cold darkness surrounding them. She recalled all the moments they had forged together, and despite the uncertainty, it pulled her back toward faith. With his eyes locked onto hers, she could see the depth of his resolve. Together, we can break through this veil of lies. We can uncover the truth. In that moment, uncertainty gave way to determination. Her heart raced with the rush of emotions, fear, love, longing. But instead of letting them tear her apart, she embraced them. Their journey was fraught with peril, twisted with betrayal and yearning. Yet beneath it all, they stood together, resolve forming a bridge over their doubts. As they moved back toward the villa, aware of the laughter still ringing out, they opened themselves to the future, prepared to fight through the veil of lies that surrounded them for the sake of love. Third Betrayal's Kiss. Chapter 9, Poisoned Petals and Shattered Promises. The sun dipped below the horizon, spilling crimson across the sky like blood staining the last remnants of day. Isabella watched the colors twist and bleed together, mirroring the turmoil within her heart. She paced the empty corridors of the grand villa, where laughter echoed faintly in the background. It should have felt like home, yet tonight the shadows felt longer. Whispers surrounded her, and every footstep echoed a reminder of how fragile everything had become. Mateo had been by her side through many battles, yet doubts crept in like vines, threatening to choke the trust they had built. Each moment apart felt heavier after the meeting with Lucia, and the darkness of betrayal clung to her like a second skin. After everything, could they still stand united against the poison that seeped from the very roots of their lives? With a heavy heart, she slipped into the garden, where blooms danced in the fading light, their colors vibrant yet deceptive. Approaching a cluster of roses, she reached out to touch their soft petals, but the beauty masked their thorny edges. Just like her heart, strained and bruised by the weight of unspoken fears and shattered promises. As she traced her fingers over the delicate flowers, a sudden sound started her. It was Mateo, stepping into the garden behind her. There you are, he said, a soft smile touching his lips. But Isabella caught the flicker of worry in his eyes, an unspoken question hanging between them. It's beautiful out here, she said, forcing a smile that felt like a fragile mask. But I can't stop thinking about what's happening. He stepped closer, concern furrowing his brow. You don't have to pretend with me. I know what you're feeling. We've all been on edge since the last meeting. We need to talk about Lucia, she said, her voice trembling slightly. Her threats aren't just empty words. We've heard whispers of betrayals close to home, and I won't let her take you from me. Matteo interrupted, his voice rising slightly. You're safe. I'll protect you no matter what happens. You know that. But even as he spoke, the vulnerability in his gaze betrayed how deeply he was grappling with their reality. What if your protection isn't enough? Isabella's heart thudded painfully in her chest. What if it's not just Lucia, but someone we trust? Those poison petals could be closer than we think. The tension between them grew, thick and heavy like the night air. We'll address this, but we can't fall apart, he insisted, reaching for her hand. But she pulled back, that old familiar pain threading its way into her heart. Can you promise me something? She asked, her eyes locking onto his, searching for sincerity. Anything, he replied, his determination shining through the worry. Swear to me that you will put trust before loyalty. If you sense something is wrong, you'll tell me. No more secrets, no fractured promises. Matteo opened his mouth, then hesitated. Isabella, don't question my loyalty. You know I would never lie to you. But we've both felt the distance grow, haven't we? She pressed, feeling moisture prick at the corners of her eyes. You say you'll protect me, but what if the cost is too high? He stepped closer, the space between them shrinking as if he too felt the gravity of her words. I swear, if anything changes, if I even sense a hint of betrayal, you'll be the first to know. Together we'll face whatever comes. Together, she echoed, feeling a flicker of hope spark in her chest. But even as the word left her lips, the shadow of doubt clung to her like an unwanted guest. Just then, the night air shifted, sending a chill creeping through the garden. I think we should go inside, she suggested, looking back towards the warm glow of the villa, wishing for the light to chase away the dark thoughts that plagued her. As they stepped back toward the door, Isabella felt the tension seep from her shoulders. For now they could find solace in one another, but her heart warned her that the battle was far from over. Each moment together was a fragile thread, and the threads of their love felt thin, breaking easily under pressure. Inside, the atmosphere was charged with celebration, an odd contrast to the weight pressing down outside. Laughter rang through the halls, the sound both comforting and dissonant. Isabella longed to join the others, to forget the anxieties, slipping into her mind like time. But every cheer felt muted under the heaviness of her heart. Hiding in the shadows, are we? Marco teased lightly as they entered the room. Come on, you two, join us. We need to celebrate. Matteo smiled thinly, but Isabella felt the cracks beneath the surface grow wider. Sure, just give us a moment. She watched as Marco shrugged his shoulders and returned to the festivities, laughter continuing to flow. Once they were alone again, she turned to Matteo. Why? Does it feel like we're pretending? Matteo's expression softened. We're not pretending. We have to keep fighting, even when it gets tough. You have to remember that love demands strength. Love shouldn't feel this complicated, she said, her voice shaking. Why can't it just be simple? Because life isn't simple. We're fighting against forces that want to tear us apart, he replied, his voice growing passionate. I won't let them succeed. Isabella felt a swell of emotion, a mixture of fear and gratitude. Then I'll fight with you. But this time we face every challenge together. No walls. Just as she spoke, the door swung open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadow. It was Lucia. The room grew silent, every heart momentarily frozen as they felt her presence. Did you miss me? Lucia's voice cut through the air like glass, smooth yet razor-edged. I see you're in good company. Matteo instinctively moved in front of Isabella, tension crackling like electricity. What do you want, Lucia? He demanded, his voice filled with both anger and caution. This little game you're playing is quite entertaining, she replied, a wicked smile curving her lips. But love can be a poison, remember? One kiss can break everything. Get out, Matteo warned, eyes fierce. You meddle with forces that will only bring you pain. Pain? Lucia laughed softly, the sound like a chime in the darkness. Or perhaps growth. Sometimes to bloom, a flower must feel the sting of a thorn. Isabella's heart raced. You think you can scare us? We won't back down. You don't own our love. I don't need to own it, Lucia replied, stepping closer, dark allure in every movement. I just need to exploit its weaknesses. You'll see. With that, she turned and vanished into the shadows, leaving behind an echo that rang through the room like a death knell. In the silence that followed, Isabella's heart sank further, feeling the bitterness of poisoned petals against her skin. We have to confront her, she said urgently, turning to Matteo, searching his eyes for the solidarity she needed. We can't let fear dictate our love. I promise you, we will, he said, a fire igniting in his gaze. Together, we will take her down. With those words, Isabella felt the resolve harden within her. Yes, there would always be thorns, always the risk of betrayal and shattered promises, but they would face it together, ready to confront whatever darkness lurked ahead. As the moon hung heavily over the villa, illuminating their path, she vowed to seize their love, their truth, and turn it into an unyielding force against the poisoned petals, threatening to strangle their hearts. Together, they would battle for the promises that still held light. Together, they would not break. Third Betrayal's Kiss. Chapter 10. The Sweet Surrender of Betrayal. The sky was a deep indigo, strewn with shimmering stars resembling diamonds scattered across velvet. At the villa, the world felt entwined with both beauty and tension. Isabella stood at the threshold of her room, heart racing as she faced the mirror. The reflection staring back bore the weight of uncertainty. How many times had she looked into this glass and tried to convince herself that everything would be all right? Tonight, however, she felt different. The air crackled with promise and dread. Matteo's voice drifted in from the hallway, laced with urgency. Isabella, we need to talk. The plea hung in the air, and her heart sank. She had sensed this moment coming, the one where betrayal unveiled itself like an ugly flower. Coming, she called back, forcing her legs to move as she stepped into the brightly lit corridor. Each step felt weighted, as though the very ground tried to hold her back. He stood there, tension rippling through him like a live wire. The deep furrow in his brow sent a shiver down her spine. I just got word from Marco. There's been another threat. Lucia's planning something. Fear spiraled within her, twisting tightly around her heart. What kind of threat? An attack. During the gala tomorrow night, he replied, dread shadowing his features. She's gathering forces to strike at the core of our family. Isabella shook her head, frustration building. She thinks she can break us apart with fear, but we need to face this together. I know, Matteo replied gently, stepping closer, but there's more than physical danger at play here. His eyes bore into hers, and in that moment, she sensed an unsteady truth. Someone close to us is feeding her information. Feeding her lies? People we trust? Her words trembled, her heart racing with the implications. It felt like shards of glass clawing through her gut. Yes, I'm worried that not everyone is loyal, he confessed, running a hand through his hair. The weight of his uncertainty weighed heavily on her. I need your help to figure out who it is. How can we trust anyone? She asked, her voice softer now, an undercurrent of despair surfacing. It's not just a matter of trust, he replied, the world growing darker in his eyes. Fear could lead us to betray our own. We need to stay vigilant. In that instant, she felt the threads of their love stretching thin, caught between loyalty and the risk of betrayal. It felt easier to give in to doubt, to allow the shadows to swallow them whole. But deep down, a fire burned within her, a fierce desire to fight for what she believed in, for what they both had built. We will find who it is, she said fiercely. We will not let her win. Matteo's gaze softened. Admiration reflected back at her. That's the spirit I need to see. You're stronger than you know. Strength won't shield us from betrayal, she replied, but her heart beat louder, finding resolve in his. Word. We can't afford any more broken promises. Suddenly, a noise rang out from the hallway, interrupting their moment. Isabella's instincts kicked in. What was that? Matteo turned serious, his body tense. Stay close. We can't be too careful. Together they moved towards the sound, hearts pounding in sync. As they stepped into the dimly lit hallway, Isabella felt a rush of cold air, like a ghost passing by. Shadows danced around them, teasing and reminding them of the dangers lurking just out of sight. "We need to check every room," Mateo whispered, casting anxious glances around. They searched each corner, their breaths shallow, exchanging looks of worry. Just as they reached the end of the hall, Marco appeared, white and frantic. "You two need to come with me. It's urgent." "What is it?" Mateo asked, his voice tight with tension. "Lucia left a message," Marco gasped, leading them toward the study. "She's revealing secrets. She knows things she shouldn't." The walls seemed to close in as they entered the study. A table spread with papers lay before them, marked with dark ink and dire threats. Isabella's heart raced as they gathered around, scanning the contents with growing horror. "Whoever is working with her is trying to tear us apart from the inside," Marco said, shaking his head in disbelief. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about everyone." Mateo's jaw tightened. "We need to set a trap. We can't let whoever's betraying us go unchecked. We'll expose them." Isabella felt adrenaline surge, igniting a fire within her. "And we'll spread doubt in Lucia's circle. We'll make them question their loyalties." "Good idea," Marco said, excitement flickering through his fear. "If we turn their own game against them, we might save ourselves." As the adrenaline coursed through her, Isabella's heart raced with a mix of excitement and dread. The night was far from over, and the stakes felt larger than they had ever been. The plan started as whispers, growing louder as they crafted their strategy. There was power in unity, and for the first time in what felt like ages, Isabella sensed a shift. But as they spoke, part of her still felt like a rose entwined with thorns, caught between tenderness and pain. Betrayal was sweet but destructive, a double-edged sword. Would their plan hold? And if they won, would they still be whole? A shiver ran down her spine, thoughts swirling with what-ifs. "I need to prepare for tomorrow," she finally said, voice steady but trembling. "Let's meet here at dawn for the final adjustments." Mateo nodded, determination flashing in his eyes. "We'll root out this betrayal together." As they parted ways, Isabella made her way to her room, her heart pounding with courage and fear. She gathered pieces of her resolve, knowing that tomorrow would determine everything. One final chance against Lucia and the traitor waiting in the shadows, holding their future in dirty hands. Lying in bed that night, she stared up at the ceiling. The night felt alive with the weight of possibility. They were standing on the brink of war, but perhaps it was time they made the sweet surrender of betrayal into a weapon instead of a wound. Tomorrow they would fight. Tomorrow they would decide what kind of love they truly had. As she closed her eyes, determined to face whatever came next, she realized that love, though sweet, held the capacity to be fierce, unforgiving, and powerful. Whatever awaited them, they would walk through it together. Third Betrayal's Kiss. Chapter 11, Love's Grievous Reckoning. The dawn broke softly over Milan, painting the sky with hues of gold and orange. But to Isabella, the beauty of the morning felt hollow. She stood on the balcony, a chill in the air, seeping into her bones. Today was the day they would confront the darkness that loomed over them, and yet all she felt was dread wrapping around her heart. Last night had been filled with plans and promises, but with the sun rising, those promises felt fragile, as if they could shatter before her eyes. She glanced back into her room, where the shadows flickered like secrets waiting to be uncovered. Trust had become a precarious thread, and uncertainty tugged at her soul. "Isabella!" Mateo's voice startled her, pulling her from her thoughts. He stood at the edge of the doorway, eyes wide, filled with urgency. "We need to move fast. Marco is on his way." "Right," she replied, heart racing. The weight of the moment pressed down on her. Would they find the truth behind the betrayal, or would love itself be the casualty of their fight? Mateo joined her on the balcony, and they shared a moment of silence. Isabella could feel the tension between them, thick like fog. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, searching her eyes. "I am," she lied, forcing the words past her lips. Inwardly, she trembled with fear at what they might discover. As they descended the stairs, the noise of their footsteps echoed in the otherwise quiet villa. Every creak sounded like a warning bell. Would today bring justice or irrevocable change? In the depths of her heart, she felt the conflict of love and loss swirl together, like the colors of a storm. Marco awaited them in the study, a map laid out on the mahogany table, covered in notations and markers. "I've been tracking Lucia's movements," he said, his voice steady, but his eyes darted with unease. "We have a lead on her next move." Isabella approached the table, her pulse quickening. "Tell us." Marco leaned in, tracing a line on the map. "She'll be at the gala, using the crowd to mask her intentions. We'll lure her into the open with the rumors of a secret deal happening during the event." The plan felt dangerous, like walking a tightrope above a pit of fire. "And what happens when we find her?" she asked, the uncertainty hanging in the air. "We confront her, expose her lies," Matteo replied, determination etched in every line of his face. "We can't allow her to ruin everything we fought." For as they discussed their strategy, a dark sensation began to settle in Isabella's gut. What if they were not just confronting Lucia, but also themselves, their fears and the betrayals hidden within? Hours later, the gala hall was alive with laughter and music. The grandeur of the evening dazzled the senses, but to Isabella, it felt like a facade, the perfect cover for ever-deepening darkness. She stood in her stunning gown, feeling like a queen amidst the chaos, but her heart felt like stone. "Remember, we have to remain discreet," Matteo whispered, squeezing her hand gently. "Stay near me." The crowd bustled around them, voices rising and falling like a tide. But Isabella felt isolated, as if a glass wall separated her from reality. Fragments of conversation reached her ears. Laughter floated about, and yet the essence of love felt overshadowed by the lingering doubt. "Are you sure about this?" she asked Matteo, her voice tense with concern. "We have to find out the truth," he replied, his eyes scanning the crowd. "If we don't act now, she'll destroy us from the inside out." Even as she nodded, a pit of fear churned within her. Would their love weather this storm, or would lucidity become a shattering reckoning? Suddenly, a hush fell over the crowd as Lucia appeared, gliding into the room like a dark specter. Gorgeous and confident, she radiated danger, and Isabella's heart raced as tension tightened around them all. "Ladies and gentlemen," Lucia called, her voice smooth like silk. "Welcome. Tonight, we celebrate casualty." The weight of her words hung heavy in the air, threatening the very foundations of the night. Isabella felt a shiver run down her spine as she exchanged looks with Matteo. Was Lucia taunting them? With each passing moment, Isabella felt the recognition of danger. She knew they were on the cusp of something significant, but the ground beneath them felt unforgiving. Even the air dripped with darkness, as if it could swallow them whole. Lucia's gaze swept the crowd and landed on Matteo and Isabella. "Ah, my favorite couple," she purred, a smile curling on her lips. "Isn't it sweet how love can blossom, even in the face of betrayal?" Matteo tensed beside her, anger simmering just below the surface. "Enough games, Lucia. We know what you're planning." "Oh, but you misunderstand," Lucia laughed, her voice laced with amusement. "I'm not planning anything except to expose the real treachery, the one lurking right beside you." Panic flickered in Isabella's chest. Was it truth? Were they standing on the brink of a revelation that would fracture everything they built? The crowd stood frozen, caught between intrigue and fear, hanging on her every word. Lucia stepped closer, eyes glinting with wicked delight. "Let's see if love can withstand the truth." She raised her voice, beckoning attention. "Who do you really trust? Everyone here has secrets. You are all players in this dangerous game." Isabella could feel the tension unfurl around her, and darkness swirled dangerously close. "What do you mean, Lucia?" she asked, her voice edged with a sudden resolve. "Oh, my dear," Lucia said almost sympathetically, "some of you stand closer to treachery than you think. Would you like to know who?" The air crackled with anticipation. Isabella could feel all eyes on her and Matteo, and yet her heart raced with dread. "Tell us," she demanded, seeking truth amongst the tangled lies. Lucia's smile faltered, and for a brief moment, the mask slipped. "Look around you closely. Sometimes the enemy lies within the heart. Which of your trusted friends will betray you tonight?" "Stop!" Matteo shouted, stepping forward, anger sparking from him like lightning. "You're trying to derail us with lies." "Am I?" Lucia replied coolly, her gaze unwavering, sharp as any blade. "Time will tell." With that, the gala erupted into a whirlwind of emotion. An explosion of whispers and gasps rippled through the crowd, confusion mingling with uncertainty. Isabella's nightmares danced to life as she scanned the faces surrounding her. Who among them could truly be trusted? Had their fights been in vain, all their love thrown to the wolves? "Innocent hearts are stained by dark intentions," Lucia continued, her voice carrying above the chaos. "Can love survive, or will it crumble? That is the real question." Suddenly, Marco rushed to their side, out of breath. "Isabella, Matteo, there's chaos in the kitchen. Someone sabotaged the food." Isabella's heart dropped. Chaos was boiling beneath the surface, and betrayal lingered like a toxic vapor. This wasn't just about confronting Lucia. It was a battle for their lives, and their love could shatter at any moment. "Stay together," Matteo urged, gripping her hand tightly. "We cannot let her win." With every beat of her heart, she felt the truth weighed against her. Love was never easy. It demanded sacrifices, tested boundaries, and sometimes led to grievous reckonings. But in that very moment, despite the turmoil, she took a deep breath, feeling Matteo's warmth anchoring her. Today would change everything, but they would face it united, fighting for trust and love against the bitter tide of betrayal. Whatever awaited them, they would not falter. Together, they would redefine their destiny against the odds, determined to choose love over fear. Third Betrayal's Kiss. Chapter 12. The final betrayal of a broken heart. The night enveloped Milan in shadows, but the gala hall burned bright with chaos. Isabella stood paralyzed as panic erupted around her. Laughter turned to screams, and an unexpected disturbance sent waves of fear surging through the crowd. The grand chandelier swayed ominously, casting fragmented light across the room, as if the very air had turned against them. Isabella's heart pounded in her chest. "Matteo," she called, but her voice was lost in the chaos. A sinking feeling twisted in her stomach. Had this been all part of Lucia's plan? Each whisper of doubt clawed at her thoughts. Trust was already fractured like glass, and now it felt ready to shatter entirely. "Isabella!" Matteo's voice broke through the din. He appeared before her, eyes fierce and determined. "We need to get out of here. It's not safe." The sheer intensity in his gaze ignited something within her. "What about everyone else? We can't just leave them." "I can't lose you. We have to regroup and figure this out," he urged, grasping her wrist firmly. The touch was electric, pulling her back from the brink of despair. "Fine," she relented, feeling a rush of adrenaline. Every second counted as they navigated through the throngs of people. Voices rose higher, fear mingling with uncertainty. Isabella searched the crowd for Marco, desperate to find their ally amid the chaos. As they made their way towards an exit, a chilling laugh rang out, slicing through the panic. "Oh, darling, are you really trying to escape?" It was Lucia, standing at the entrance, a confident smirk stretching across her face. In that moment, time seemed to freeze. Isabella's heart stopped as she faced the woman who had woven so much chaos. "What do you want, Lucia?" she shouted, summoning strength from deep within. "You've already lost." "Lost? My dear, it is merely the beginning," Lucia replied, her eyes glinting with malevolence. "Love is sweet, but betrayal is even sweeter, and I'm about to relish every last drop." "Enough!" Matteo stepped forward, his fist clenched. The protective fury in his voice sent a shiver through Isabella, and she felt the weight of their fight bearing down on them. "Be careful, Matteo. You might find that your loyalties are misplaced," Lucia taunted, and with a flick of her wrist, a signal was sent. Suddenly, the guests surrounding them shifted, revealing a group of men in dark suits, Lucia's enforcers, Isabella's. Heart raced. "We have to go," she urged, grabbing Matteo's arm. "Now!" They turned abruptly, but the figures moved in closely, blocking every path. Heavy silence replaced the chaos, tension building as they faced their adversaries. "You cannot win this battle," Lucia purred, stepping forward. "Your precious love cannot protect you from truth." "What truth?" Isabella yelled, anger rising. Is it the truth of your betrayal, or lies spun to keep us apart? It's the truth that your love is built on fragile foundations, Lucia spat back. And those foundations are crumbling. Mateo's voice broke through the tension. Isabella, we can't let her manipulate us. We fight together. Just then, Marco burst through the crowd, panting heavily. I found a way out, he shouted, urgency etched in every line on his face. But Lucia has people everywhere. A spark of hope flared up in Isabella's heart as they exchanged determined glances. They had come too far to let fear win. But as they began to move, a figure stepped out from the shadows and Isabella's heart dropped. Going somewhere? It was one of Mateo's trusted friends, now revealed as a traitor. You shouldn't have crossed Lucia. Why? Mateo challenged, his voice filled with incredulity. What could she possibly offer you? The betrayer gave a shrug, a cruel smile painted on his lips. Power. She promised me everything you could only dream of. Isabella, no! Mateo shouted as the man lunged toward her, but instinct kicked. In and she turned, pushing past Mateo. The world around her spun, her heart hammering as she dodged the approaching danger. She grasped a nearby candlestick, adrenaline coursing through her veins. You'll regret this, she yelled, brandishing it like a weapon. Just as the man lunged for her again, she swung, catching him off guard. The impact shocked him, and he stumbled back, giving her precious seconds. Mateo and Marco stood close by, forming a protective barrier around her. Now! Mateo shouted, taking her hand. We move! They pushed towards the exit, fighting against the chaos that swirled around them. Lucia's laughter echoed, mocking and relentless. You think you can escape? Love is a burden, and it will pull you down. But Isabella fought against the words, pushing through the crowd. They finally reached the grand doors, bursting through into the night. Relief flooded through her, but fear still gripped her heart. Outside, they hurried away from the building, taking shelter in a nearby alley. Darkness wrapped around them, but it felt safer than the chaos they had just escaped. Is everyone okay? Marco asked, panting heavily. I'm fine, but what about... Isabella began, but Mateo interrupted, gripping her arms tightly. We need to regroup, find a safe place to ensure our safety, he said, his eyes searching hers. If Lucia has connections within our circle, we're not out of danger yet. Isabella watched him, the weight of their reality crashing down. And what about trust? What about love? How can we move forward when betrayal lingers around us? You fight for what's right, Marco interjected, frustration bubbling beneath his calm demeanor. We're stronger together. Do not let a single betrayal shatter everything we've built. His words ignited a fire within her, a fierce need to reclaim their stolen power. What if this was meant to be, she whispered, the gravity of the moment settling on her like a cloak. What if love can still conquer? Mateo's grip tightened, grounding her. It can, he replied, conviction lacing his voice. But we need to be vigilant. The battle isn't over. As they continued down the dimly lit street, Isabella felt the echoes of betrayal linger at every turn. It was a reminder of the pain that had nearly consumed them. But as they walked, she recognized something deeper. Love was not always a fairy tale. It could be messy, painful, and filled with uncertainty. But it was also worth fighting for. At that moment, she vowed to protect the love they shared. It was a love forged through fire, tested by betrayal, and emerged stronger. Together, they would face whatever darkness awaited them. With every step they took away from danger, they carved a path towards trust, knowing that even when hearts shattered, love always had the capacity to heal.